Thank you very much, Alex. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here today. I'd just like to thank you all for coming along to listen to this little talk by myself. I'd like to thank Kaboo as well for having me speak, and of course to you, Alex, for organising everything so efficiently. So today, I'd like to speak to you a little bit about your content, something that obviously is very important for most SEO, digital marketing, PPC, email, whatever kind of campaign, something that's very important to all of us, and specifically about how to think about your content in order to make connections with your searchers, connections with your potential audience, to understand what they want so they find you when they search. Secondly, I want to share a little bit about what has proven to be a really great environment here. We have at White.net, a kind of content development environment we've created, we've worked with our clients to create in order to generate great content that covers these topics for search so successfully. But start with a little bit about myself first. Obviously, as Alex said, my name is Charlie and I'm the head of marketing at White.net. We're a digital marketing agency based in Oxford and we specialise in technical SEO, content, paid media and digital PR. We have two strong beliefs in how we work. First of all, that search marketing is a craft of having to constantly improve, and it's very hard to stand out amongst the crowd. That's what you've got to be aiming for. And secondly, that everyone can do digital marketing. Everyone can make a difference. Everyone can do a little bit of SEO, a little bit of digital marketing, and really improve their business, something we find very exciting. I've worked in online for coming up to 7 years, which I still can't quite believe when I say it. And I've worked in-house and for a couple of agencies in a time. One of the big jobs I did, I've done stuff for all kinds of people, from small businesses to large businesses to agencies. Starting off with jobs in technical SEO and content, and moved to looking after content for a large e-commerce retailer with tens of thousands of products before moving into agency. And in recent years at White.net, my thinking has very much been on content, and by default, as a result of that, keyword research. As I said before, content is the kind of glue that holds all online marketing together. SEO campaign, you need content. Email campaign, you need content. Building an app, you need content in some form. And just over a year ago, I did a webinar on SEMrush, for SEMrush, which was about a user-centered approach to building content for traffic and links. That's where I first met Alex. And the basic premise was that by building content on topics we can prove our audience actually wants, we can build content that will actually be marketable. We can use it for outreach, we can use it for email campaigns, we can use it to earn links and shares, and the search engine traffic will follow as a result because it's on topic. And the basic concept of that was that the theory is that by taking the principles of user-centered design and applying them to keyword research and content creation, we stand much more chance of creating content that will work for our audience and for search engines. Today's talk is the evolution of that, taking this style of approach and adding a model of thinking and process, an actual process we can do to actually create that content. This is very important because I believe very strongly that content is something that we can all make advantage of. Every website has an audience they can research, understand, and serve. Everyone has that. But with more and more of us creating content, there's more and more websites all the time, and with a high percentage never actually doing content marketing, content creation, good copywriting, etc., the competition is increasingly tight, it's increasingly difficult. There's less and less room for us to stand out. And as I said, something we strongly believe is that standing out is vital. So how do we actually stand out? Well, I've called my talk Understanding Your Audience, and I want to speak with you today about taking our content game up a level in order to do that by digging into our audience, by using methodologies that are common in some of our sister disciplines such as UX and above them advertising, content marketing, all kinds of disciplines. We can create better websites and content of the depth that we are always being told that we should be creating. First, though, I want to tell you a little story about how I got to this point. Some of you folks will have worked in SEO for probably more than 4 years, and you'll probably remember a time of pre-Panda when SEO content was a little more easy and a little more cookie cutter, to say the least. My first job in SEO was at a travel company, and I started work on their ferry websites, and I was looking at that. So I was looking at on-page content, off-page, which was mainly done by firing up something like Scrapebox, and generally trying to build a successful website. So I learned how to make content With ferries, that's exactly how to capture your audience's attention with glamorous subjects as big metal boxes moving slowly across the sea. I know. But it's important because my specific target when I first started working this website was keyword research and to help build content resources targeted to our most important keywords. Kind of an obvious SEO thing to do. So it started off really fine. I had to build a page on a big subject such as ferries to France. Nothing wrong with that. Lots of things, like I said, the topic, the routes, the boats, the times, number of crossings, all kinds of information. Great, unique page. My next page was ferries from France. Okay, sort of the inverse of what I just said, but I can sort of, technically they're different routes because they're going in the direction. There's still plenty of them, so I can still do some fairly unique stuff here. Next page was France ferries. Kind of running out of steam by this point. I'm going to write about the ships themselves. What does France ferries even mean as a term? It doesn't even make much grammatical sense. They didn't just finish there. It carried on. No, there's more cross-channel ferries, Dover to Calais ferries, Calais to Dover ferries, and my favourite, French ferries. French, I don't know what French ferries is actually meant to refer to. There wasn't exactly a need for all these different pages. This was repetitive, SEO-driven content that wasn't actually useful to any users. But this was legitimate. We actually did this experiment on one of the multiple websites we had, where we just created a single page for ferries to France and ferries to Belgium, etc., and didn't have all these multiple variations. We put it live, and this, one of the smaller websites, it completely tanked. Its visibility went through the floor, and we had to revert it because otherwise it was actually not making any money at all. So at the time, this was working. Of course, this guy then soon came along and absolutely changed all that. The Panda came along, improved things, cookie cutter content no good. Now we can work in much more interesting and, frankly, normal human ways of actually producing content, which is a great thing to be doing. The industry and I now think quite differently, and we think in broad terms. We think in what I like to call buckets of keywords. So we have groups, and the single page is a great resource in its own. Instead of being optimized for one keyword per page, as that cookie cutter stuff I was just showing you, it's now done for potentially tens or even hundreds of keywords in a single page. It's a great resource, a great individual page that works really hard and does a lot of different stuff. There's a couple of great articles on the topic on screen here that I recommend you check out if you're kind of, this idea is new to you. We've come a long way since that bit of early content I started working on then. This is 4 years ago. No, sorry, this is 7 years ago. And about 4 years ago, Panda came along, and suddenly everything's different. We now work in a much more friendly way rather than my friend ferry escapades. And I think we've become open to embracing the influence of a variety of sister disciplines in creating great websites. These all come together into what I've started just calling in-house here at White, and generally when I talk about it, as content development. Just as developers, website developers, build great site architecture, the design and so on, we're developing content resources based on user need and search data. We have a reason for creating stuff. We build a user journey for our content, not just for the website itself. And all the ideas around that, such as the data I just mentioned, but also UX, user experience, content strategy, social media, to give us clues on how to engage your audience, where this all comes together allows us to create much better resources that speak the user's language, that actually are helpful, and that actually create something that we can market successfully by pushing out to people because they can see it's a great resource. This is great SEO stuff. And it was while looking at all these sister disciplines and these related fields that I came across a really interesting article by Richard Prowse from the University of Bath, and a great speaker on content strategy, I must say. He was talking about how, in this article, the link is on screen, how the University of Bath had taken an agile approach to doing the content strategy, the governance of their website, for their large university website. It was as many university sites are, tens of thousands of pages, and there needed to be some kind of really clever way of doing governance, and Agile was their solution. This struck me as being absolutely fantastic because it's keenly related to what many of us are already trying to achieve. Agile thinking is about having user needs as the priority across everything you do, working on one thing at a time, fixing a user need, moving on to the next challenge. And that kind of makes sense with how many of us produce content for websites for search. We actually go, right, we have a new product, a new service, a new topic to talk about. We want to do a really good job of it, move on to the next one. But it's about taking the idea of user needs that's going to take it to that next level. Sustainable success by looking through our audience's eyes at everything we do. Without realizing that, I think we've already started working to one of the main principles of agile working. The guiding principle, is that putting user needs as the primary goal. The perspective of the audience is the key. As we've seen, we've already started taking helpful elements from related disciplines such as UX, content strategy, and so on in its content development approach to way of working. So it immediately made sense to me that the agile ethos gave us a reason, an attitude, the reason why we put these things all together for SEO. Perhaps why we like them so instinctively as SEOs is that these things make sense to us, and the agile ethos we can put on top of that puts it together. But of course, when you hear the term agile, you kind of think agile's for developers. It's very much a terminology to describe us. We're an agile agency, we like to think agile. But agile, actually, technically, we know it's to do with web development and to do with scary things called scrums that involve like large ways of working and putting website projects together. But I'd like to see us take this agile approach, this agile mindset to content as well. It's about research, publication, and refinement, which probably sounds pretty similar to many of us here when we're working in SEO for a while. And it kind of sounds like where we're headed even more in the future. Because this developer environment is actually exactly what I think we need to try and achieve. In order for our content to be taken seriously, and for our work to be taken seriously and to achieve results, we need to be thinking in a strategic and tactile manner, putting both together. This layer of agile thinking helps us understand our audience and apply that to everything we do already, and it brings it all together. So I say that SEO content, keyword research, UX, content strategy, social media, content marketing, all with an agile approach to how we do it, is what a content development environment should actually be. And I think this is tremendously exciting because this is something we started doing, we're seeing great results with. I believe everybody who does SEO, whether their budget is huge or their budget is relatively small, you can take this mindset, you can take this discipline, you can take this attitude and make it work for you and produce good results. And that's why I want to talk to you about this, because it's what these guys want, it's what Google wants to do. I don't have time nor do you think me to tell you that a huge part of Google's updates over the past few years since Panda has been all about quality, all about presenting good content. The recent Phantom updates, the one earlier this year in May, and the one that they update on November the 19th, there's been a lot written about. It's really interesting. It's all leading towards this idea of presenting high quality content. The stuff that came out about RankBrain at the end of October being a machine learning algorithm that actually sort of works out what the user intent is. They believe the user intent is behind the new searches they haven't seen before to provide better results. It's really fascinating because this all comes from that as well, and the learning from the quality rater guidelines that got leaked and then obviously released by Google last month. All that seems to be feeding directly into whatever the kind of Phantom update is. It all comes together. The search for quality that Google is on all the time is absolutely key to what we want to do. This is important for us because I hear an awful lot of the time from talks, from other people, from articles, that the solution is to do whatever kind of technical thing they said to find new content or understand the topic, and then just build great content. Building content is now just being the new way of saying that content is king. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm kind of tired of hearing this. We've nothing more on it, any more detail. We don't get anything that actually helps us make the most of this. We don't get to hear how people do this, and that's what I want to share a little bit of today about how I go producing them. The thing is that not all content obeys the same rules. Not all content and what makes it great is going to be the same for my e-commerce website as it is for your newspaper website. There's a difference in what the user actually wants. This goes back to the point of that this is what users actually need. I'll give you an example here of product pages for a large e-commerce website. This is John Lewis. It's a page taken from several months ago, and it's for a pair of Nike Free 5.0 women's running trainers. In the colour violet, they had about 7 different colours on the website at a time. Nothing unusual about that, seems to make sense, good looking page, all pretty good. But when we actually examine the content, something interesting happens. The product information box in the top left hand corner you can see here is exactly the same for all the 7 different shoes within this range. It's the same thing for no matter what the colour is, it's the same basic information on that individual product. The brand story at the bottom of the page is on the same, sorry, it's the same for every single page that is a Nike product. So anytime you have a Nike product, you see this brand story. That's a lot. That's hundreds of products on the website. The delivery information on the right-hand side is the same on every single page apart from certain large household appliances across the website. Tens of thousands of pages. And this is all the content on the page apart from the picture you saw higher up on the previous slide. This is all the page has. It doesn't have anything unique. It doesn't have anything particularly sort of what you describe it as being outstanding or great. And I know obviously journalists is a great domain and they can play on that and they can sell a lot of that. But the point is, this is the useful content. This is actually what the audience needs on this page to be able to make their decision, to be able to choose to buy this product or not, and to move on. Now this page is duplicate. It's, you know, it's got a lot of things we might argue is against SEO good principle. It's against what you might hear you should always do. And I'm not suggesting you take this track, but it's interesting that what makes content great is not always the same. Another example of this is we're always given the idea of what about challenging or new industries? Industries where you can't do something interesting, such as plumbing. How do you produce great content for that? Maybe a content marketing piece on building your own bathroom or something like that. But again, how relevant can you do that? And how often can you keep on doing it, especially as a small business? And what counts as great content in that is intrinsically not as interesting. And what counts as great content in a product that's new? So you've got nothing to compare it to. How do you compare it to be great if you don't know what you're comparing it against? These are interesting questions, and these are things that I think that agile thinking, content development environment actually helps us answer, because we're actually looking at each individual case and understanding our audience rather than relying purely on keyword volume driving what content we produce. So in order not to be guilty of the same thing, I thought if we take this agile attitude, how do we build quality content that Google knows we want? What feeds this content development environment that I particularly am so excited about? Well, I believe this is the answer. At its heart, SEO is about questions. And I think if I get you to take away nothing else from the talk today, apart from this, guys, I'd love you to remember this, that at its heart, SEO is about questions. You may have seen Google's recent TV advert. I say recent, it was in the summer, so probably about 6 months ago. But it was an advert for their search app, the iPhone and Android search app. And at that, it's kind of puts it at the heart of what they think search means to the public. And what they think search means to the public as an app on your phone is answering a question and getting an answer. How many times have you heard the expression, just Google it? I've used it all the time. Lots of people have used it. You might even, you occasionally might say just Bing it just to be funny, but generally the fact is you say just Google it. And it's a really interesting thing that people say, because people use it when there's a question in the room that nobody knows the answer to. And either nobody can be bothered to look it up another way or nobody wants to pick up the phone. You say, just Google it to get an answer to a question. We know that using a search engine is asking a question and getting an answer. Now, I really like these adverts, but they inspired me perhaps not in the way that Google or the producers were intending when they made them. To me, they represent a real opportunity for us as digital marketers. And that's because with search, you're looking for an answer to a question, sometimes an actual question, sometimes an implied question. This quote is from the founder of DuckDuckGo, a very interesting search engine. Imagine some of you already use it. It's a really cool thing to do. There's some really interesting stuff. But this is someone who's built a search engine saying, when you do a search, you want an answer. And it really cuts to the core of what we need. Say either it's a direct question we're asking or it's an implied question. What do I mean by an implied question? Well, something like this, where I type in Facebook and put it into the Omnibar, and I can't be bothered to write the words .com. And so I ask a question in the search engine, which is, where do I find the website Facebook? That's my implied question, is, where do I find Facebook? It makes you wonder when you see this, though, because the term Facebook itself just gets so many searches, X million searches per month. It makes you wonder how many of the 3 billion searches Google gets per day are actually just relatives of mine, technically inept members of my family who can't be bothered to actually type the word .com. I digress, but this is the point. Every search is a question. So I'm looking for questions. This is what I want to do. Everybody searches a question, and I want to take this agile approach where I build all my content with the user at its heart, answering the question one at a time, doing this all within a great content development environment. So how do I listen to the audience? Well, any successful SEO or content relies on data, cold, hard, historical information we can use to make decisions. It's great stuff. We love it. So how do I get that data? Start with Google Analytics. You want to understand what is working on your website first of all. The clue I find with Google Analytics is this little box just down here. Turn insights into action. There is stuff you can mine into Google Analytics to understand that. There was also a recent webinar done right here on Kaboo by Write My Site about using Google Analytics to create content, and it's a similar principle to that. So if you haven't seen that webinar, I strongly recommend you go and check it out. It's really enjoyable by a great speaker, and it was you can learn a lot from that. From this point of view, what's the first thing I'd be doing? I like to go and check out my organic traffic and see what landing pages I've got. What does Google already think I'm a good answer for? Every search is a question. What am I already a good answer for? You see, which pages do a good job of answering questions? And understanding from that, well, hang on, I'd expect us to be a good answer on this or a good answer on that. It's not the same as keyword ranking, so we rank for, you don't for. Actually understanding what content is working as an answer, not just the actual individual keyword ranking. Really great place to start. Why are people leaving the site? When are they leaving the site? Where are they leaving the site? I think you look at your exit pages. Again, I've got it filtered here for organic traffic. And you want to look at this exit rate on the right-hand side. Now, bear in mind, you also want to be checking out number of previous pages read. You want to be checking out the bounce rate. You want to be checking out how long they spent on the page. It could be they're leaving the page at this point because you've answered the question really well. But depending on what you're actually doing with your website, have you answered it well? Have you achieved your goal? Are you doing everything you can do? This goes back to the theory of Google really liking answers that they know satisfy their users. And one of the ways they check this is by the idea of long click versus short click, as in people do a search, they go to a website, they get a good answer, they don't go back to the search, or if they go back to the search engine, they're asking a refinement of the question. They're asking something new. So if you're going to be checking out here, it's been making sure that your good content, your strong content, is actually answering the question, they're sticking on the page, and they're getting the answer they want. Okay, so a little bit about having to do it, make a bit of an extrapolation, make a bit of an estimate, because you don't get exact data on it, because you can't ask the user, at least at this point. But you can make some really good decisions by looking at what content is working and what isn't. Beyond Google Analytics then, looking at our own content, starting to look at other people's content. How can we get some insight? Well, what's earned our audience's interest, I think, is a really good way to ask. Whatever niche you're in, you can drill down quite refine this, or you can go quite top level. Within our niche, what content earned interest from our audience? Now, there's a couple ways of doing this. One of my favorite tools to do this is Ahrefs. It's got both a way of checking out a topic and checking out which articles have been the most popularly shared, and also, of course, you can put in any competitor website or a bunch of links and actually see how many links have been pointed at, as Ahrefs, best known for being a link tool. Now, this is really good stuff, because if I want to know what's working, what actually is answering audiences' questions, it's the ones that have earned the links and the shares because people have said it's good. It's not always an exact match. If anyone heard Rand's talk from Search Love a couple of months ago in London, very interesting that social shares do not equal links in the way that marketers have previously tried to assume. But the theory is very true. Is actually, if something has earned shares, if it's earned links, it's worth us checking out to say, what questions does this answer? Is this of interest to our audience? Is this the kind of thing that's actually earning us the interest we want? Similarly, you've got BuzzSumo. So BuzzSumo does it for purely shares. Ahrefs and Majestic, really good for using it for links as well. But what kind of content is earning our audience interest? There's obvious stuff we've, I think, most of us have done many times before, and it's certainly been pointed out to us many times before. But coming with a different attitude, so just look at it going, what got the most? Actually try and look at it from a more refined point of view of why has it actually got our audience's interest? What questions has it answered? What need has it solved? Great thing about BuzzSumo, got highlighted here in the middle of the page towards the right, is you can view the sharers. If you've got the pro account, you can view the sharers, and obviously, so if you create something that answers another question, a related question, or this question even better because actually none of these articles answer it that well, people who've shared it you might want to point it out to them and say, hey, you might be worth checking out this resource I've created instead. Classic content marketing work. I think this is a really good tool for doing that. That's why a lot of people, I think, are loving BuzzSumo. Next up is Topsy. Topsy is perhaps I put it here because I think social mining is a great way of understanding our audience, something that's really important. What's our audience talking about? Topsy is my favourite tool for this. It's got two modules. The right-hand side, you can see, you can put in a topic and see individual tweets people are talking about. Again, find the natural language. Find questions, but you can search for questions on Topsy. Find the sort of stuff people are talking about, find their natural language, find what questions they're asking, what's a hot topic, what do people want to know, what can you help with? And then on the bottom left there, you've got the Topsy Analytics where you can compare several different topics. Here I've compared content marketing, SEO, and social media, just to see the relative popularity, but also you hover over it as I've done here, and it'll show you the most important tweet or the most sort of shared, powerful tweet of the day on said topic, and you can actually see what's really capturing people's attention. Often it's just about the famous people who've spoken on a topic, but other times you can really get some interesting insight into the issues people have had it sort of peaked in their mind because other people are talking about it. User testing is something that I think we're becoming more familiar with in SEO. Again, talk about us taking the best bits of other disciplines. User testing is fantastic for understanding our audience. Eye-opening insight. Nothing beats footage of real user interaction. If you've never done it before, give it a go. It's incredibly fun. It can be ridiculously expensive to use one of the big agencies. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's a lot of money to get a full UX testing service. But videos of someone like usertesting.com start at $49. They rapidly go to $99, but they start at $49, and you can normally get at least one for free as a trial. So it's easy to give a quick go, and you get spoken and even written and follow-up answers fed back to you. You create a custom scenario. Real users do a video, you can see the reactions, and then you can take action on the back of it. Often it's done for UX and for web design, but in terms of content, if you've got a content section that's really important to explaining a product service, or as a content marketing piece to introduce your brand or something like that, you can test and see what of your content's done well and what hasn't. You can set a scenario up, tell them what they're looking to achieve, and ask them, does this content do a good enough job of answering it or not? Fantastic. So powerful and so bespoke to your needs. It's great. It's incredibly versatile. You can go as granular as you need. Start it off cheap. Highly recommend it. And my favourite tip about it is if you haven't got a website yet, or you haven't got the content section of what you're looking to build as part of this process you're going through here, test the competition. Use a competition website. There's nothing saying you can't do that. The same way you can check out a competitor's backlinks or social shares, you can check out, do a user test on them. Say, hey, I want to build a content section on ferries to France. I haven't built my ferries to France section yet. I'm going to go to my competitors and do some testing, spend a bit of money, not too much, a little bit of money, and find out what users like and don't like about the content. What questions do they answer? What questions don't they answer? What do they do well or not? And then I can learn from that and do a better job with my website, and that's going to make me much, much, much more likely to succeed in my search campaign. Surveys. The thing I like about surveys is that if you've already got an audience, just ask them. Instead of actually guessing what your audience wants, doing stuff, just ask them. Now, there's multiple ways you can do surveys. There's a few options between here, SurveyMonkey, SurveyGizmo, and from Google. So there's a couple of main ways of doing surveys. The first one is using your existing audience, as just said, so you can either do a little pop-up on your screen. I'm sure we've got very used to that by now, having the pop-up saying, would you like to answer a couple of questions? And if it's just a singular question, it's be a pop-up yes, no, you click on it and it goes away, or it can take them to a separate survey. Or you can ask an audience you've already got, so if you've got an email list or something like that, ask all people who've bought a product to go to a page and fill out a survey. You can use a Google form for that if you want to do it for free. SurveyMonkey, SurveyGizmo have really good cheap prices. The other thing you can do, of course, is if you haven't got a ready-made audience, perhaps you've got a new website, you've got a new section, or you just haven't got a big enough email list yet, you can pay. You can actually just go, right, well, I've got a big enough top-level topic. I can actually say, hey, I go to this company and I want to find 10,000 people. That's a lot, but you can ask 10,000 people to answer a quality questions on the topic to get their answers to be able to build some useful content for them. Now, Google have their consumer surveys that does this, SurveyGizmo actually do this kind of stuff. That's obviously going to cost you more. It's more expensive, and it always do. But it does mean you can get a huge amount of data really quickly in order to base decisions on. Great way of getting audience insight and stuff. The Siege Media example, I've got the link up on the screen right now, is a really worthwhile article. Check out this if it piques your interest, because it goes into some good detail on what you can do. Next up, questions. I said search is all about questions. Why not see what questions other people are already answering on your topic to know what you should be answering? So a favourite of mine for this is competitor FAQs. Most FAQs on websites are dull and to do with returns policies and where they're based, and this stuff that doesn't even do with FAQ. Occasionally, you'll happen to be lucky enough to work in a product or service where some or all of your competitors have actually got good FAQs on the product or service. They actually talk about the industry. They talk about stuff that you can actually go, oh, this is an important question about our topic. Now they're addressing that. I'm going to, sort of take all those ideas and put them into my keywords and we'll see if people are searching for this. And if they are, I'm going to write about it as well. This is, as a result, checking out competitor FAQs. FAQ Fox is a website that kind of allows you, doesn't always work, sometimes does, allows you to put in a topic and then scrape competitor FAQs. Very cool. Quora is one of my favorite weapons of doing this. Quora is a great thing for keyword research, guys. I cannot recommend it enough. It's manual labor. You have to spend time doing it, but in this case, it's great. I love it. What is the got an example on the screen. What would be the best way to cross from the UK to France as a foot passenger with a Labrador dog? Not any other dog, not an Alsatian or a poodle dog, but specifically a Labrador dog. But the point is, there's a question here on being a foot passenger on a ferry with pets. Now you can take that as a topic, put that into your favourite keyword research methods, find the variations, do the search volumes, put it all together. If there's enough variations, put it into one of those resource pages, actually about like, this is covering the topic in detail in a great way that you can understand. And you've got yourself a new topic by being useful, by answering questions. Quora is really good for this kind of stuff. I spoke about how last year I did a talk on user-centered content, and user-centered content research has been at the forefront of my mind for the last 18 months. I wrote a post on this, sorry to be quite so self-promotional, but I wrote a post on this on the Momentology blog a couple of months ago. Oh no, I'm going to say 4 months ago now, actually, about user-centric keyword research, and it's about doing quality keyword research that unveils your user needs by looking at the user intent behind the term. Actually going, right, if somebody does a search for the keyword content marketing, it's not much use to us. Yes, it's a big topic which will show up as having millions of searches per month, so I'd love to appear #1 for it. But we have no idea what the need is. Do they want content marketing to do themselves? They're looking for an agency to do it for them. They're looking for ideas. Are they looking for a definition? There's all these different things. The intent is opaque because it's too generic. And the idea of user-centric keyword research is to go just not too much deeper, one step level further down from that, and actually understand what the user intent is and base your content decisions around that. So we've got our ideas of understanding our audience, listen to what they want. Now we're going to do some content research that's user-centered, again, all about the user, of these ideas we've got, and actually make our keyword list. We have access to billions of searches per month. It's fantastic. There's no better user research tool than search, than SEO, or PPC I should say, because we actually can see what our audience is searching for within our niche or category at any one particular time. We have access to so much data. It's fantastic. What are they searching for within your sector? Let's use some fun tools to have a dig in and see what we can get. Now, user-centered design tries to optimize your product around users, so user-centered content and keyword research is getting our content or our keywords around users. Simple as that, very obvious. Some of the questions you might be using to help do this are like, what are the users of the document going to look for? Who are the users of the document? What are the users' tasks and goals? What information might users need in order to make a decision on your page, and what form might it be? And these are classic user-centered design questions we can apply to search. I'll give you an example. I've got an e-commerce website, so I might ask at my content or my content topic I'm researching here, what decisions do the user need to do to be able to narrow down their choices? What criteria needs to be met in order for someone to choose? What are the advantages they're looking for? What benefits they need? I have a great example of this. I used to work with a domestic appliance company, and they said, we've got a honeycomb drum. It was very important to them on their content. They had this honeycomb front and center. So I eventually said to them, why do I have to keep mentioning honeycomb drum? What does it mean? They said, oh, it reduces ironing. And I was like, that's the benefits. We immediately changed everything to being that the content around it and the explanatory content on the product page is that we have a drum that helps save on ironing because it keeps the glue smoother. It reduces the amount of creases. Fantastic. That's what you want to be thinking about, this kind of level. So you can very easily take classic user-centered design questions, turn them into about, instead of being about your product or your document, being about your web page or about your keyword. Now, one of my best and favourite tools for doing this, the one that I had the most success with, is probably SEMrush. Searchmetrics also does a really good job of this. I'm really used to using SEMrush, and there's a really good article by RefuGeeks, by Rishi, about the tool. I recommend you go and check it out if you've not already and you're a fan of SEMrush. It's really, really good stuff. Now here you can see I just put in pnoferries.com. Again, I'm looking at the ferries, and I can see all the keywords they rank for. But more importantly, I can also see which page ranks for them in the volume. So with the volume, I can then extrapolate how much expected traffic they get based on average click-through rates and so on. But more importantly, I can export all this data and do a pivot table or what calculation you like, and actually look at each individual landing page and say which keywords do they rank for, what's the expected traffic, and kind of then look at this and say, here's this resource, here's this successful page on this topic. What questions is it answering? What is the implied question behind each of those keywords? How is it answering them? And obviously, with SEMrush showing you what they're ranking for in the top 20, it's the ones it's answering pretty blooming well. So you want to be understanding what's successful about it and then replicate and do for yourself. Another great thing you can do in SEMrush is the domain versus domain charts. I love this. Now, in here I've got Pizza Hut, Domino's, and Papa John's. I wasn't hungry when I wrote this, honestly, Governor. But interesting that you can put them in and see all the unique and crossover keywords. Now, these are local search terms. There's going to be quite a few unique terms for each of them, which is locally based. But the interesting thing is, I want to know what I can sort of select any of these segments you can see within this Venn diagram, including the ones where they've got their unique keywords. Filter out the local terms and actually go export it. What are the unique things they're writing about that I'm not? So I've got 3 here. I'll make sure one of them is mine. I'll go right. My 2 competitors. What are they writing about that I'm not? Are they answering questions that I should be answering? Are they talking on a topic that I'm an expert on that I want to make sure I show up as an authority on? Perhaps even more interestingly is the Venn crossover part, where both your competitors are ranking for terms that you're not. Now again, you might have some local terms in there, but if they're both writing a topic that you're not, surely that might be something you should be talking about as well. Let's work out, is it something I can do an even better job of? And more importantly perhaps, what are they both talking about? And what are they both not talking about that I do think is relevant? Where can I own the sector? Where can I get a bit of leverage above them? That's a very cool thing to be doing as well. Google Trends. Now, I think this is often quoted, but actually seldom used by many people. I've gone back to my ferries to see what the head terms tell me about, what the headings we actually be using. So ferries to France or France ferries, which one should I actually be using? Well, the answer apparently is France ferries, a less grammatically helpful one. But interestingly, they're both going down in search popularity. It's interesting to know how with Google Trends that the graphs going down might not mean less search volume, because it's a comparative thing. It's actually just saying that of all the searches done in Google over the course of this time, it's become a less popular thing. Now, of course, there's more searches being done, so it might be that actually relatively it's still very popular. That's what the terms tell you. Is, that's where you put it into your keyword tool, and that's where you can find more actual information. But it's a starting point. I want to know, is this a growing topic or not? What you're looking for is big spikes upwards or downwards. If something over the last 12 months has really rocketed up in popularity, it's an aspect of your product service, and you're not talking about it, it shows that this isn't a flash in the pan, this is something that actually is happening. You need to be getting on that. But similarly, if you've got something that's going down, are you using the right terminology? Does this mean that it's either a product users don't want, or is it simply that they're using different language now or asking a different question about it, and that's where you need to be focusing your efforts. The related searches you get underneath are really helpful as well, because it gives you more, again, content keyword ideas. Scraping Google Suggest is one of the most popular things I think I've introduced to my clients for getting keyword ideas. So, it's the simple way of going, hey, these are real terms people are searching for. These are things that people want to know about, and they often are quite medium and long tail terms. So you've got a chance of ranking for them. The user intent behind them is clear, and it's much easier to actually build content to focus on them. Now, we can use various suggest scrapers to find out what people are talking about right now on our topic, and there's a number of them out there. KeywordTool.io, Keyword Kiwi, and Ubersuggest, three of the best ones out there. There are others. You can see that some of the searches I've got on the right-hand side here immediately come up with some good ideas. Are ferries to France running today? Ferry to France as a foot passenger, again, foot passenger comes up. What is the best ferry to France? What is the fastest ferry to France? Again, long, medium and long versions of our core keywords where user intent is much easier to imply. I can write about as an authority, and I can produce a useful answer to a question someone is searching for. Again, I'm providing answers, guys. That's the thing I want to get across again. I'm providing an answer to a search through my knowledge. We know that Google has been, very hot on this with the search guideline, search rated guidelines that got released last month. There's a large section there on EAT, what's important, for a search rater in terms of looking at the quality of content, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. 3 words, only one of which I can say very easily. This kind of content, where we're answering these kind of questions that come up in Google Suggest, allows us to appeal to those because we're actually answering obvious questions. If a search rater is looking on a topic of ferries to France and sees that I've got related content on what the fastest one is, what the most helpful one is, all these kind of things, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't do this, and we can see that with the Google rating guidelines asking about them, if we talk about it, we should benefit as a result. Now, if I'm going to go on about scripting Google Suggest, my favourite one of it is at the moment is Ask the Audience. I think it's one of my favourite ideas for tools in years. I really do think it is. It's a great way to see all the prepositions from scraping Google Suggest, but expanded to also include things apart from Google Suggest. People just asking along the internet generally. And it's all done in a really visual format. So you go to the website, you see this nice gentleman in his woolly jumper here. You spend a bit of time looking at him, and he's moving around like a moving GIF, and he just gradually gets exasperated with you. But you put in your topic, and you get to answer the public, as the title suggests. So you can see here I've put in content marketing as my topic to get questions for. Click on the quick get questions button, and I'm presented with this, and I get this large wheel. Now, obviously, it's very small font, takes me to read it, but there's a bunch of questions in there, such as what's content marketing, how content marketing helps SEO, how to start content marketing, how to sell content marketing, how to use content marketing, how to measure content marketing. Wow, there's a whole bunch of questions. You can see in the center of the circle, you've got the prepositions: why, how, which, who, what, and the great thing is you click on the various buttons to get the data, and it gives you even more. So on the right-hand side here, you can see that it showed me there's a whole section on versus of content marketing versus SEO, content marketing versus inbound marketing, all these kind of things. Great related topics. And now I've got a blog on content marketing. The White.net website has a blog. We're using this to help inform our blog strategy because we can see these are topics that actually have been asked somewhere online. Some of them are from Google Suggest, some of them are from help forums. If you go to Ask the Audience, Answer the Public, explains how it gets its data, but it gets lots of different points, and it also gives it alphabetically. So if you don't want to just scrape Google Suggest in the classic way, Keyword Kiwi and KeywordTool also give you a chance to add suppositions and prepositions to your main keyword to get interesting ideas. But I said that keyword research, agile thinking, all this stuff is about answering questions. Well, Google Suggest and scraping it and tools such as Answer the Public are the best way of actually finding questions that people are asking and you can answer. If you pick the right topic, which has got lots of keyword variations, it doesn't have to all be questions, but you find the question variant of the keyword that you can answer, which allows you to then touch upon all the regular keyword you'd normally be targeting. You can produce content that is deliberately helpful because it's answering a question. And that's what I want to be doing. So I've got all my ideas, I've got all my stuff here. What do I do next? How do I come to take this stuff, I've got my audience insight, I've got my keywords, how do I put it on my website? And the starting point I do for this is user stories. I take my personas and what the audience wants, and I map the journey. You can see the example here. This is from the Gather Content blog. As a blank, I want to blank so that I can get some benefit. So, as a holiday maker, I want to find the fastest ferry to France so I can book a ticket. Real example. I might want to book a ticket. I might want to plan my holiday. I want to make a recommendation. Doesn't matter. The point is that you actually plan your journey. So you've got your keywords, you've got your volumes, you've got your difficulties, you've got your good stuff there, and you go, right, how am I going to build the content? What's the best way of doing that? That's sometimes I think the gap. They're trying to answer the gap here between create great content that we're always being told to do and actually doing it. And the first thing is actually asking the audience and understanding what they want. And the second thing is actually then mapping it out. So just going, right, loads of people want to know about Phrase to France and just building a page within it. Just a few minutes just planning out the user journey. And it might be the same way one page can answer hundreds of keywords. One page might be answer a few different user journeys, isn't, because we're building good sized resources. But just by doing this, it makes a lot of sense, and suddenly becomes much easier to produce content that's actually worth a damn, actually content that answers the question, rather than just being a targeting keywords for the sake of search. Now, if you haven't got access to some of this stuff, you may not have access to personas, for example. Well, you can cheat. You can cheat. There's good things. On the previous slide, I meant there was a link to seed keywords. Now, if you haven't got a user journey, seed keywords is a great thing to do. Gives you keyword ideas as well. The idea is you put up an experiment. You say, "Hi, I want to know. My scenario is that I want to book a ferry ticket to France," and then you share it with people. It can be your work colleagues, it can be the client, it can be friends. Doesn't matter. And you ask them what search term would they put in to Google to look for that. So it's a great way of finding natural language, a great way of finding sort of common patterns in such things. It's also a way we think about user journeys, user stories, because it makes you actually think about what are they asking, and from that you can look at that direct question they're asking and going, hang on, okay, so that's what they've asked. What's the user journey for that question when someone actually types into Google? And then personas on this page, YouGov have got this great tool where you can look up, put in any subject or topic. It's got a limited list, but it's quite expansive, and get really detailed information from the government on what they think these people are into. So here I've got this information you can see on screen. It's all for a web designer. This is someone who's interested in web design. Apparently he's average age of 25 to 39, lives in East Anglia, and his most likely job is in information technology, which can't really be a surprise. But there's things like 500 to 999 pounds average spare income per month. Favourite clothing lines are George, Dolce & Gabbana, and John Lewis. Not quite sure that you'll find three more disparate shopping experiences to compare from there, but there we go. Favourite supermarket, Tesco's. Most likely pet to have, a cat. All kinds of information. There's also information on there about likes, dislikes, all this kind of stuff, and it's just a good starting point. If you've got no personas from your company or from your client, to actually go, right, here's our target audience. I've got my user journey. What kind of user journey is going to appeal to this persona? Just putting these things together. Again, it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be hectic. People think of personas as having to have research for days by expensive companies. It's great if you can do that, but if you can't, you can do a quick and dirty methods to fill the gap and plan your user journey for your content. Next up, wireframing. Wireframing is not just for web designers, it's great for us. Able to draw on a whiteboard, then you can create a wireframe. You don't have to be artistic. It's really cool. And what I want to do is actually go the same way I'd plot a website design using wireframe. I want to plan this user journey and the content flow. It might be having a couple to show through pages, or it might be on one page to show how the content's going to flow from answering point A to point B and links to other pages where they're useful. Use wireframes so your content has a space and workflow. Again, you want to be able to produce great content. Take all these learnings you've made and plan out the journey, and then physically show how it's going to look. So then when you actually create the content, you've already planned it out. Balsamiq is really cool. There's other wireframing tools available. Put together your storyboard of what you want to create. And then if you have to go to a web designer, if you have to go to a client, if you have to go to your boss, whoever you have to go to get this thing to actually happen, it might even be yourself. You've actually got a reason for doing it, and you've planned it out, and you're ready to go and do it. You can even on the wireframe point out the sections where different keyword variants are being targeted at different points. That's what I've done for clients in the past. So I said, no, your header's answering this question, then this subheading's on point A, this subheading's on point B, and these links over here ask these supplementary questions. And we know again from the Google rated guidelines that the supplementary content is really important. Quick example of how you can do this to get your own creative juices flowing. Backlinko, Brian Dean, very popular SEO, does a lot of good stuff. He has a thing called the skyscraper content theory, or theory technique, as is written down here. The idea, of course, is to create something that is so much bigger and better than everybody else's. Like a skyscraper, it really stands out in the skyline and can't be missed. Now, this is a great theory for us because if we are looking to create content our audience wants, if we can actually find that first of all, and then build something that answers that question better than anyone else, we know that we'll be able to outreach it more successfully, we'll be able to build links to it more successfully, we'll be able to promote it via social media more successfully. It will appear naturally for more keywords successfully because it's relevant as long as we've got some kind of authority. The point is, whatever part of your SEO campaign you're in, having content that stands out from the crowd is vital for success in answering that question. So let's get excited about the possibilities for content. By doing one of the things we've talked about here, you will gain insight into your audience. You don't have to do all of them, just do some, get some insight. Start producing content that tells a story of how they might want to use your products and service. Again, reduce ironing, not a honeycomb drum. Tell them what stories they have on how things should be. So if your product solves a problem, show them how your product or service makes their world how it should be, not how the current problem is. So the stories of their questions. They ask a question, show them how your product or service answers that question. I type in a question such as, what camera is best to use, DSLR or SLR camera? Have some content that answers the question, shows them a story of how answering that question makes their lives better. This all comes together into that really cool thing of being able to create really inventive, helpful, useful content that you can be proud of and market successfully. Agile thinking is really important to me now. It's become something that really pervades my mind when I talk to my clients. It's the thing I want to take away, that agile thinking can be done by anyone doing SEO content. If you're doing SEO content, you don't have to stop doing SEO content to do agile thinking content. It's the same. It's just an evolution. It's content development idea and agile thinking being the glue that binds all these different angles and these different tools we have together. One step at a time. Focus on the user. Learn what you have to make. Fantastic stuff. And agile thinking created the content development environment we need for user-led content. User-led content is what we want because user-led content is useful content. And what we've seen through Panda, through the Phantom updates, through RankBrain, through the user guidelines, all the clues we get from Google about what they're looking for content-wise, which people say, what does great content mean? This is what it means. It's useful content because it's useful content, it's useful to the audience. And if it's useful to the audience, it answers their questions. And answering questions is what Google wants because Google presents answers so that people keep clicking on ads so they keep making money. Simple as that. To go back to the Google advert from earlier, I really do feel that little bit of inspiration when I see this. Because I love how a question can take a user anywhere, just as they put right here in their advert. A question can take you anywhere. And by being useful, by answering questions, by thinking with an agile attitude to how we build our content, it can take them, via that question, to our website, so then we can make our money. You can grab the slides at this little link here. It's WHDOT, as in white dot, and then .net/understandaudience2. I will be tweeting it regularly over the next 24 hours or so, and hopefully so will the nice people at Caboose, so you can get the slides. And I'd just like to say, once again, thank you very much for listening to me warble on for the last little while. It's been really enjoyable. I hope I've managed to inspire you a little bit to think agile about your content and to understand that, hey, all we've got to do is answer some questions to please the Google. And if you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter at PageShorts or send me an email, charlie@white.net. I'll be delighted to answer any you have.